They explored their grandfather's attic after he passed away and found something amazing. Sometimes you hear a story that sounds too good to be true. This is one of those, but we're going to tell it to you anyway. This family decided to take a look in their grandfather's house after the old man had passed away. What they found in the attic was beyond their wildest dreams. The old man had passed away only a month ago. These were tough times for the family. They had absolutely loved their grandfather, whose name was John Dinley. John Dinley had lived a long and happy life, full of great moments that he loved to reminisce about towards the end. His family didn't really know what to make of all his stories, but they would soon find out that one of the crazier ones had actually been true. One of the stories that John loved to tell was about when he supposedly met the 31st President of the United States, Herbert Hoover. This president was in the White House from 1929 to 1933. John was born in 1930, so he didn't remember much of it. But according to his stories, his mother had saved a little girl's life and was awarded with a medal and a dinner with the president, along with her entire family. The family found something spectacular in the attic. They wondered if it had something to do with the president. The trap door that kept the attic locked had seen better times. It was rotting all over and looked like it hadn't been opened in years. When they finally removed it and managed to open the trap door, they found something amazing inside. They never knew that this had been here for all these years. Their grandfather sure knew how to keep a secret. Inside the attic was proof that their grandfather's wild stories had not all been fabrications. At least one of them turned out to be true. The contents of the attic had nothing to do with the story about John Dinley supposedly meeting the 31st President of the United States, but it was related to another story of his, which was equally amazing. This story had been one of John Dinley's favorites. His family had always taken it with a pinch of salt. It was just too ridiculous to be true. Or was it? When they found out what was inside the attic, it all seemed a lot less crazy than what they had always thought. The story went as follows. It all started when John was 22 years old. He was in his car on his way to Dallas to look for a job when he came across a man whose car had broken down. John stopped his car next to the broken down vehicle. The man was also on his way to Dallas, but something was wrong with his engine. He had no idea what to do. Luckily for him, John knew his way around cars and fixed the engine in no time at all. The man was so impressed that he asked if John would be his full-time mechanic. John was confused. How often did this man suppose his car would break down? The man told John that he'd just have to wait and see. John followed the man and his car to his house. On the drive to the man's house, John had the time to really appreciate the vehicle he had just fixed. There it was, right in front of him. It was a Jaguar, and a brand new one at that. John had never seen a car like that. He kept his eyes on the car during the 2-hour drive to the man's house. At the house, his life would change completely. Wow. That was all John could say. This house was something else. If you could even call it a house, everyone you'd ask would describe it as a mansion. It was enormous and beautiful. The gardens were well groomed and the walls were sparkling white. It was like in a dream. The man even employed servants who quickly produced an extravagant lunch for the pair. During lunch, the man revealed something to John that would change his life. During lunch, the man finally revealed what John's job would be. He was to take care of and maintain the man's extensive vehicle collection. Apparently, the man was a true collector and had a large collection in a barn nearby. In exchange, John was even allowed to start living in the farmhouse next to the barn. And so John's life changed. Over the next few years, John built a life for himself on this farm just outside of Dallas. The barn was completely filled with all kinds of cars, and the man's collection only grew. John kept them in tip-top shape and took them out for short drives every now and then. Life was good. But then something terrible happened. The man who employed John passed away in a car accident. He had no kids, no wife and only one brother. According to his will, John was to inherit the contents of the barn, while the brother inherited the house and all of the man's other wealth. The man had given him everything, a house to live in, a steady job, a happy life, and now he was gone. John was heartbroken. He refused to enter the barn ever again. And so the bar stayed on the barn door and rotted away, while John grew older, had a family and eventually passed away. His family never knew what he had inherited all those years ago. When John's family finally opened up the trapdoor to the attic, after it had been closed for decades, their jaws dropped. Inside the attic they found a large collection of gold bars. According to a document on a table in the attic, there were over 1,000 gold bars in this room. They had been exchanged for the contents of a certain barn years ago. They sent for an appraiser to get an idea of the value of this collection. The appraiser told the family that this collection, in total, was worth over $26 million. This was a big surprise to them. They had never thought that their grandfather had actually inherited a massive car collection because they had never seen it before. That was, of course, because he had traded it for over 1,000 gold bars. Suddenly they were rich.